the first decade of my career was dedicated to adapting content, so localization, adapting content to international segments. And then the second decade of my career was dedicated to adapting the product experiences to new markets. Today, I'm an independent consultant helping companies maximize adoption in new markets. The end goal, really, as in our industries and the different functions, the end goal is to launch products that are discoverable, usable, and valuable for the diverse populations of the world, right? So what does that mean? If I'm a user, can I find you in my market, through the ecosystem channels? I found you, can I use your product? You've translated the interface, you've localized, maybe even adapted the creative content, the marketing material, all the assets. Does search work? Does the relevancy algo for recommendation system work in my ecosystem? Autofill, right images, all of those things. As an example, I interface on both English and Hebrew. When I type on iPhone, I start typing. The system auto-fills the rest of the auto-completes, right, the sentence. I type a word, a glyph or the image pops up that I can use to pull for interactive conversations. I don't have any of those features in the Hebrew interface, right? I found you, I can use the product well, all the features work well. Do I care, right? So within the competitive landscape of my market, how does your offering stand out? And do you actually solve for a specific problem that relates to my market or to the top sectors or to the specific use case scenarios within my market, right? So a lot of companies take the same paradigm, the same problem solving for the US, the whole value proposition of the product, and then simply render it in different languages. But the actual intent and the goals of the performance of the product does not necessarily match the markets. So when I work with companies, I basically split it into two main paradigms or pillars. The first is global readiness. So global readiness, so there's no such thing as a global strategy, right? There's a global ready strategy, and then there's a geo-fit strategy. So global ready helps us land in new markets. A geo-fit helps us adopt the remainder headroom growth in a priority specific market. And that's where we need to integrate more the regional, the cultural factors, truly understand our customers within the cultural context of their regional environments. Adam, if you can jump over to the previous slide for a second. So with global readiness, it really touches those three areas. So platform, the backend, and the mid-tier need to be adaptive. Really, I would say global readiness in general, if you want to concise it in one word, it's adaptive, right? To have an adaptive mindset. To quickly be able to pivot a direction, an adaptive backend and mid-tier, so that we can render the relevant product experiences on the front-end UI UX based on the user geolocation, language interface, specific use case scenarios, and so on. So let's break it down for a second. So and then global readiness with people relates to the org structure. So I'll break it down first from the platform perspective, things like microservices, cloud native AI networks, dynamic simulators for mobile QA with in-context, in-layout QA, all these many CSS, and all these many many enablements that enable us to adaptively dynamically deploy, render the relevant experiences on the front end. In people, companies are typically structured in functional verticals. International is an extremely horizontal effort. It touches on every function across the organization. And so we need to rethink a global ready org structure that can enable us to effectively align and drive core international efforts across the organization, right? So now we can jump to the next slide. And the adaptive strategy, basically, the way kind of the framework that I apply is thinking about those three core questions, right? So when we, so I would say many companies still today see localization as a tail-end language support production effort. And what I've been trying to do for the past 20 years is change this paradigm and educate and change these processes within companies to expand the prism of localization and look at it as an upfront strategic lever for growth, right? And so when we think about the early phase of a product dev design, the prototyping, the ideation, we're thinking about, what problem are we solving for? Who are we optimizing the solution for? How do we define and measure success, right? Those three core questions are going to define the KPIs, the success metrics, and those will define the core initiatives we're gonna prioritize, right? So those things are not a blanket global. They're gonna be adapted based on the market needs. And again, integrating, understanding the markets, integrating those regional and cultural factors, the user expected behavior, and a lot goes into that. I've done many hundreds of A/B testing experiments, mainly at SurveyMonkey and also some at LinkedIn. And it's amazing to see the differences in specific, optimizing for specific core funnels by market. Again, you don't have to do it for every market, but some markets have specific user expected behaviors and specific market requirements that really move the needle on that. Okay, so next slide. So just to give an example, this was in early 2016 at SurveyMonkey, I prioritized UK and Germany as top markets to focus on. UK, English market by default, early adoption market. So brand awareness, engagement exists already in the market. So the focus is more on the downstream conversion retention. And therefore, what problem we're solving for, right? Therefore, we're looking more at, we're optimizing more for existing users, existing customers, and helping them, lifting those downstream numbers. And also within the competitive landscape, brand loyalty, right? In Germany, it's a very different ecosystem. So as a late adoption market, by default, very low engagement, focus was simply on top of funnel, just to be discovered, and quality customer acquisition, which for SurveyMonkey, that means the second deploy of a survey is the conversion to paid subs. And so what we call quality sign up is a person who not just signs up, not just registers to the system, but actually deploys the first survey. And so all those initiatives, so if we think about what problem we're solving for, who we're optimizing the solution for, who is the segment we're focusing on for optimization, and then this is where product GeoFit comes into play, doing two things: optimizing core funnels, optimizing discoverability, acquisition, engagement, conversion, retention, loyalty, and then adapting. So adapting those core funnels, and also in some cases developing new products, new features for specific markets, like what we've done at LinkedIn. We developed specific products for India, for China, and so on. So there's a lot to say about that, and I'm sure we can address more examples in the Q&A. But Adam, if you want to jump to just the last slide, this is just one example of. I'm going to cut to the chase, because obviously when we do A/B testing, there are multiple iterations, and each iteration is tested separately. What you're seeing here is final products, but I'm just going to share one example just to illustrate the impact of understanding your customers within the ecosystem of the region and applying those adaptations to the product experience. So this is Germany, again, focusing on the new users, not on existing users, and focusing on top of funnel. This is 2 years before GDPR. just by understanding, knowing that German consumers are much, much more concerned with trust, transparency, and data privacy. By introducing 2 explicit user data checkboxes before the sign-up CTA that tell them exactly, these 2 checkboxes take them to 3 unique links in German to tell them exactly how we're gonna use, collect, and share their data, right? So we haven't changed anything in the back end, but we're just making everything very transparent, accessible, and clear, explicit, right? Not only did we not introduce friction in the rich funnel, which again, in the US, I would never test that because we will introduce friction, guaranteed. But in Germany, we actually had a 10% incremental lift in new signups. And again, I don't see that as a success metric because you can always put a big sign up button and people click it. I'm looking at the downstream impact based on the unique user journey. The unique user ID. And so of those new customers that clicked the sign up through this experience in Germany, 25% of them deployed a survey, the first survey, and 24 of them were new paid, converted to the paid version. And so this is just one example to illustrate the impact of those adaptations.